Hey guys, Captain Rye coming to you today. I got my review and personal take on the T-72 Ural and T-72A in Armored Warfare, as well as some gameplay footage for you and a little bit of history on what is probably my all-time favorite main battle tank. Not just in this game, but absolutely, period. First, a little bit of background. The T-72 was the second-generation main battle tank developed by the USSR during the Cold War. Its development process stemmed from the T-64 from the 1960s. The T-64 was revolutionary in its design and concepts, but didn't quite live up to the expectations of Soviet leadership. Starting in the late 60s, after continued problems in both the development, production, and deployment of the T-64, the T-72 was brought about. The T-72 featured two improvements, one of which was in a larger main gun. This larger main gun was a 125mm. The 125mm provided a firepower advantage over the 105mm guns of its NATO adversaries. Additionally, the layered steel composite armor provided an armor advantage to its NATO adversaries, which were still, for the most part, rolled and cast steel. The T-72 had a wonderful advantage in both speed and mobility, and a lower profile. The Soviet doctrine with the T-72, because of its development from the T-64, was it was a stopgap measure. It was good enough. However, good enough proved to be definitely good enough for them and their Warsaw Pact nations and numerous export destinations, as the T-72 is the second most produced and most exported post-World War II tank after the T-54-55. Many nations, including India, Iran, had the T-72. Several of the former Warsaw Pact nations even bought licenses and continued to produce T-72 variants to this day. This is actually one of the things that has me really excited about the T-72 here in Armored Warfare, because it has so many different variants. The variant options that it has include the variant options from Czechoslovakia, Poland, Romania, Albania, and Bulgaria. Each of these various nations has their own reactive armor packs, and a few have even developed whole new turrets for the tank. The nations that continue to operate these vehicles absolutely love them. In comparison to other nations which operate American and British Tier 5 vehicles in Armored Warfare, they've had to develop their own vehicles or buy modern updates for them. In comparison to its Tier 5 and Tier 6 adversaries here in Armored Warfare, the T-72 at Tier 5 has a definitive advantage in firepower and armor. As we'll see later on in this video, the number of shots that it will bounce from equivalent tier adversaries is pretty intense. At Tier 6, you start running into a bit more complicated issues. The T-72 was such a phenomenal hauled chassis that it was developed into multiple other vehicles, including engineering, heavy lift, mine clearing, and armored fighting vehicles, one of which you can find here in-game, and that is the Terminator. At Tier 6, you start seeing Terminators pop up quite frequently. You cannot penetrate them from the front, and as a result, are left to have to use the superior mobility of the T-72 to outflank them, or get creative and hope they shoot someone else. My first impressions on the T-72 are that it is a fantastic tank. Not only is it dead sexy to look at, but with the appropriate upgrades built into it as retrofit options, you can become fairly accurate, have a great fire and maneuver mobility, but also increase the top speed. I currently have a module that increases the top speed of my tank to approximately 62 kilometers per hour over flat and level terrain. It also increases the turret rotation, which gives me that little bit of an advantage when I'm switching between targets on the opposite sides of me. Combine that with a chromed line barrel, which improves the overall accuracy of my tank. I can oftentimes fire on the move and only miss half my shots. I do also have the hull modification that increases the HP of the vehicle, which gives me an extra advantage, especially when playing hard mode, when I've become artillery's bitch, or I just get surrounded. And as Jingles likes to say, you definitely don't want to be surprise butt sex in an MBT. The MBT model, if you're not familiar, is that of a tank which has heavy armor, forward, and a large gun, but still has the mobility and maneuverability and deployability of a medium tank. The compromise in this case, as is with all main battle tanks, is it has heavy frontal armor that's nearly impenetrable even to its own gun, a large main caliber weapon with decent reload, but if you get flanked, you're going to take significant damage. So how about a little bit of gameplay footage? We're going to take a look at Operation Kodiak. Operation Kodiak is a basic PvE mission, player versus event, a team of 5, where you're tasked with defending one of the base maps. In this particular map, you're tasked with defending a port. You have 3 cap points and numerous secondary objectives. In this particular battle, I'm playing on hard mode, and I'm the bottom tier tank. This is going to be tough. The T-72, although it is fantastic, it seriously lacks the armor and the punching power in a tier 7 up game. And oftentimes you'll probably see me bounce several shots. My gun will bounce them. Their guns will not. I'm going to take a lot of damage, and it's going to be pretty interesting. A little bit about my loadout here. Because of the high alpha damage of the gun, I do not run high explosive anti-tank. I almost always and exclusively run armor piercing, fin stabilized, discarding Savo. The alpha damage is so high, and the fact that you can't one-shot kill anything means that I'm basically doing max damage to any target I hit, even if I over-penetrate. So as you can see, I've already taken some pretty decent damage. And these are just from light tanks, hitting me in the side, hitting me with that explosive reactive armor. The T-72A, available at Tier 6 from the Shishkin dealer, comes with the explosive reactive armor, and I definitely recommend that as one of your first upgrades. Considering you're going to end up in battles at Tier 7 and possibly 8, you're going to want to have that extra defense. Now you'll notice here I'm having trouble finding a spot on this Abrams that I can actually penetrate and finally settle on the back of the turret, but he's going to point his gun towards me, and now I don't have a shot. When playing the T-72A at bottom tier, you really have to consider playing more like a light scout tank than a main battle tank. Otherwise, you're going to have a really, really bad time. It could have been worse. You could have been in that other tank that got wasted here early on at the first cap, providing some Much needed team support there while the teammate had that BMT Terminator pinned. Get around and flank it, put some shots into the engine compartment, and I'd love to say I light tanks on fire, but I only ever seem to do that at the last possible second. I'll hit them, do max damage, I'll kill them, and it'll say enemy lit up right at the end. It's, well, why would you even waste lighting them on fire? They're dead anyway. Pushing forward into the second cap zone here. Got another heavy tank that I really, really don't want to deal with up front. Aside from my retrofits, including the chrome line barrel, the enhanced drive mechanic, and the interior hull frame upgrade, I run one repair kit, which I almost exclusively save for repairing my main gun or repairing my turret ring, as those always end up being damaged first and often. The mobility of this tank is so great that unlike its counterparts at same tier and lower tiers, losing a track and having it repaired really doesn't affect you the same way that having your turret ring or your gun damaged would affect you. I also run with the PvE expendable, the mid-tier ammo and HP replenishment. I've already used it. I was sitting pretty low on the HP there. I really don't like to use that consumable as early as I did. But, yeah. I'm glad that I did, because I'm going to take some pretty serious hits here later on in very rapid succession, and I'm not sure if it's going to become a problem or not. And I'm not sure, even if I still had it, if I'd be able to hit the 9 key quickly enough. We failed the secondary objectives. On hard mode in this map, yeah, that happens pretty regularly. It really does become a problem. Now, I've moved into position to defend the last cap point. We're down to just the 3 of us. There's a guy up there in a Leo 2 who is really having a rough time of it. I'm trying to give him assistance. I really am trying to give him as much assistance as possible. But it's just not enough. I can't get reloaded fast enough to provide that kill. I'm going to move up a little bit here. Try and get into a little bit better position. Again, keeping that front towards enemy. I know nobody's going to spawn on the other side of me. That's not how the spawns on this map work. I am keeping an eye on that tank behind me because I don't want him to come up from behind me. That would be absolutely bad. And now there's just the 2 of us left. The guy in the Leo up there. He's backed himself into a corner. He can honestly run absolutely nowhere. I put a shot out. I missed. And that T90 MS is just going to wreck him. Yeah. So now, I've got a problem. I've become artillery's primary target. I've got a T90 MS pushing the cap. I've spotted, so I know the artillery is going to hit me. That T90 MS, he's going to be starting to shoot at me. I miss another shot, and now I've got a Leo 2 to deal with. It's popped up right in front of me, and this Leo 2 is going to try and get around me. So I reset the cap. All I need to do, I have to survive. I don't have that long to have to survive, but I absolutely have to survive, and yeah, I've got nowhere to go here. And I backed myself into a corner in such a way that I couldn't turn the tank to provide shots on either of these targets and provide just the frontal armor from either of them. Fortunately, time's up. We've won by the hair of the chin, skin of the teeth, analogy, whatever you want to call it. But how'd I do? I did really, really well. Top of the team in experience earned. Top of the team in damage caused. That makes me happy. But, Captain Rye, you've been talking about the T-72A. What about the T-72 at Tier 5? Well, I'd love to show you the T-72 Ural, but the gameplay footage that I have of it is absolutely atrocious. For whatever reason, the frame rate in the video chugged along at such a rate that I just could not show it to you. I do apologize for that. However, I hope that you enjoyed what I did have and can be happy enough that it is in fact here. That's Captain Rye. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and I'll try and get more of these up more often. Captain Rye, signing off.